Cancer. I don't know about you, but just the word makes me feel so many different emotions. We all probably know somebody who's fought cancer, died from cancer, survived it. In this week's episode, we speak with Crissy, who is a breast cancer thriver. Not only did she survive, but she's now thriving in life. She did conventional treatments, and she learned along the way to listen to her intuition and incorporated holistic healing practices to support herself, her body, her mind, her spirit through all of the ups and downs of cancer treatment. It's an absolutely incredible story. I hope that you really enjoy it.
Welcome to the Wellness Empowerment Project. I'm Trish.
And I'm Julie. We are two nurses exploring holistic healing and wellness practices to empower you to be the leader of your own health. Join us as we try out new things, or as we call it, weird shit, and have some fun along the way. Welcome to the Wellness Empowerment Project. Today we are interviewing Crissy, who is a lover of all things mind, body, and soul. She's a wife, a mom, a sister, yogi, and a 3-year breast cancer thriver. For over a decade, she has been teaching vinyasa and therapeutic yoga, but recently has extended her knowledge to include yoga for cancer recovery, yoga for the lymphatic system, and yoga and traditional Chinese medicine. She's an advocate for helping her students step into their power and connect to their bodies on a deeper level. Her love for holistic healing and mindful living became even more amplified when she was diagnosed with stage 2 triple positive breast cancer in September of 2020. Her yoga background not only helped her move through her journey with grace and ease, but also helped her tap into her spiritual essence, intuitively connecting to her body on a whole different level. So she is just a perfect match for us to interview today. And I just want to welcome you to the Wellness Empowerment Project, Crissy.
Thank you so much. I am beyond honored to be here with you ladies and just the beautiful work that you are doing in your industry. I think it is so needed and honored. As you're sitting there reading my bio, I'm just like tears are starting to come up and I've just pure gratitude for where I am now 3 years later. So thank you for having me.
We're really excited that you're joining us today. And I feel like there's just so much to dive into. Why don't you start sharing your story with your breast cancer and give us a little information of what that is and what went through?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as if 2020 couldn't have gotten any worse, I was diagnosed in September with, like she said, triple positive breast cancer. And gosh, so many emotions go through you when you hear those words. There's a moment where you are like in a fog. It's almost like that Charlie Brown wall. You don't even know what's going on around you. At some point, you do come out of that a little bit to realize now this is a part of your story. This is a part of your journey. I'd like to say that I've always been a healthy person, a positive person. When you're struck with something like this, as traumatic and as intense and scary as this is, you really have two ways to look at this. You could go down the rabbit hole of hell of just, oh my gosh, and fear and fearful of death. And cancer is scary, no doubt. So you really can go down one way, or you could just say, okay, you know what? This is a part of my story. I have to tap into what I know and put some of my knowledge to use. So I really did that in my 6 rounds of chemo. I did 1 full year of targeted therapy or immunotherapy. And then I did a double mastectomy with reconstruction. Because I was going through this during COVID, I had no idea how my body would react to the chemo and to being around anybody who may or not had COVID, because it was still very much very new then. I had to go back into quarantine, my family included. So there was a lot of emotional stuff with that, because I'm a very personal person. I love to socialize. I love to be around people. I have a lot of friends, beautiful friends and family that I lean on, that I had to do that from afar. So that was tough. But it really allowed me the time to slow down, to really tap into some of the spiritual tools that I had been gaining over the years that were really given to me because something higher than me knew I was going to be diagnosed with this and I would need to tap into it at some point. or another. As I was going through, especially through the chemo, because there was a lot of down days, there was a lot of emotionally and physically. So just tapping into my meditative skills and doing meditations every day, doing journaling every day, working through the emotions of everything rather than around it and trying to sideswipe it and just say, I'm not going to feel that today. Being able to truly be quarantined again, I think really allowed me that time and the space to do that, which was nice in a silver lining kind of way.
Were you already doing some of this work before your diagnosis, or did you really delve into it deeper afterwards?
Yes and no. So I had just recently, earlier that year in January, really started my journaling practice. And obviously, again, COVID, when everybody was quarantined, I think most people I know who are already living a holistic well-being lifestyle or the mindset growth world, they started to incorporate some new daily routines, right, into their world. The journaling I did, the more reading I did, meditations I did, but I wasn't really that on it every day. But when I started going through my chemo, I really realized like I can't heal through this just physically. I have to heal through this emotionally, energetically, mentally, all of the things. I did start to incorporate meditation into my daily routine, as well as being outside and just trying to find a sense of peace and a sense of gratitude for what I was going through, as hard as it was and as confusing as it was. Like, how did this happen to me? I'm a healthy person. I teach yoga. How did this happen to me? It just goes to show it can happen to anybody, but it really, something like this, as traumatic of a situation, it doesn't have to necessarily just be cancer. It could be any traumatic situation. It opens up the doorway to say, okay, scale back just a little bit. Let's see, what can we change in your lifestyle or your mindset or what you're doing or your emotions, how you're experiencing them and feeling them. I really allowed myself to go there, to be honest with myself and get to a little bit more of the honesty behind the honesty. Like, how honest was I really being with myself of living a holistic life? So a little of both. I was doing a little of it in the beginning, but then it intensified and I really stepped into it more so as we've gone along.
Chrissy, you mentioned a big piece of this was allowing yourself to feel those feelings and not to push them aside. Did you start off from that place, or did you start the journey with breast cancer how I think most people do, right? Listening to what the doctor says, doing all the things. And then did something happen or something shift at some point where you're like, you know what, this isn't enough?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're sitting in the doctor's office and you hear those four words, it is gut wrenching. Every emotion just, well, you are scared and you're going to do everything that the doctor was throwing out at you. It's very overwhelming. Depending on your team that you surround yourself with, if they're really good and open and they try to really talk to you about things and get you to understand your treatments, you can come at it from a better place of understanding and trust. I did start out in that way. I did start out, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the chemo because I just want this cancer out of my body. That's what the doctors say. I'm going with it. And in a way, I'm glad I did because my body adapted to the chemo phenomenally. After 3 treatments, the tumor shrunk crazy. But along the way, and it was early on in my journey too, maybe probably after like my first chemo, where I was like, okay, I am given all of this time. I have to use this time to heal on those different levels. That's when I started to really look at my journey of going through this, where I can't just listen to my doctors. I have to step into my own power. I have to make decisions from my own intuition. That's where I think, like I said, it was earlier in the beginning of my journey, but it got more and more louder and louder as I went through it, because that's where I started to trust myself. I started to trust my body. I started to educate myself even more of with my food, with my thoughts, with specific different, not protocols, but different treatments that I can do that I can help my body. I can support my body while the chemo and everything else, the conventional stuff is working. I can support myself on a whole other holistic being and level. And so I had chronic energy healer working on me. She would clear my energy, cut cords, teach me to be at one and at peace with the chemo instead of scared of the chemo coming into my body. Because let's face it, it's poison. It's poison. You're putting poison into your body. And I'm not one who likes to take medicine. I never would really take medicine before that. So I was scared of what the chemo would do to my body. But she taught me to just say thank you and be in more of a grateful place and live with gratitude for it and say thank you and then leave my body unharmed. Go where you're needed and leave the rest of my body unharmed. As I went through day by day, I felt my body as a spiritual being, as an energetic being, as an emotional being. I got stronger and stronger.
That's really beautiful. I'm curious what your team knew about that kind of side journey that you were doing. Were they open to it? Were they supportive of it? Were they dismissive of it?
All the
Sure.
things, all the
All the
things. So they didn't know everything that I was doing on the side. My oncologist, the first time I ever met her, I asked, "What can I do? Is there anything that I can take as far as supplements or eat a certain way to help with the side effects of chemo?" And the lovely comment of, "No, just everything in moderation. I don't want you taking any supplements. I don't want you doing anything on the side because I don't know how it's going to react with the chemo." So there, had I been where I am today, I might have looked for somebody who appreciated the holistic world a little bit more. But I took it for what it was worth and I continued with her. And I just still continue to do my side work as far as educating myself and reading more and then taking into account what felt right and aligned to me. Some of my other doctors, they knew I was a yogi and they knew, okay, the meditation, the energy work, that's fine. But as far as really implementing any acupuncture, they really didn't want me doing any of that. A lot of my holistic treatment as far as eating, supplementing, and acupuncture started after my chemo when I was done with my 6 rounds. Also, too, because as far as my changing of my diet, when I'm going through 6 rounds of chemo, it made me like, ugh, everything was not tasting good. And I didn't have the metal taste. I had more of, it tasted like concrete. It had a film. Everything I ate had this film over it. It was weird. So by the end of my 6th one, like broth is really all that I could get down. So my diet journey happened after I got my taste buds back. It's for every listener who's listening, whether you're going through a cancer journey or you know somebody going through a cancer journey. My ultimate mission, I think, for everybody to understand, to know and to get and to feel is that you have to do what's right for you. You have to feel what feels aligned to you, to your energy, to your lifestyle. And yes, listen to doctors. I'm not saying don't go to doctors and don't listen to doctors, but there's a difference between putting doctors on this pedestal and putting all of your trust in them. You're taking away your own self power. Our bodies are so much stronger than we give them credit for. When you give over your power to a doctor, it takes away the fight and the will that your body can do. I think that it's really important for every person to understand that you have to truly make aligned decisions for what feels right to you intuitively.
Crissy, everything you said there was really on point. People forget, though, that doctors are specialists in a lot of times an organ system or a disease process. It's very siloed. It's not always this broad spectrum. I'm curious is that when you mentioned some of these treatments to your doctors that said, no, hold off on this, don't do this, did they give a reason why? Or was it more of just it's unknown to them? So they don't necessarily are comfortable saying anything one way or another.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I have heard from some of my doctors that the research just isn't there. And I have heard that I don't know how it will interact with the chemo. I have heard, oh, that's just a little on the side. So I get it because our medical society is very much sick care. They're very much reactive. That's what they're taught in school. They're not taught nutrition. Nutrition, food is medicine. They're what, maybe 7 hours of what I've read. Maybe it's changed, but they get 7 hours of nutritional classes. Like, nutrition is food, and it can be alongside everything else, right? So, yes, I've heard all different things. But when we're looking at holistic healing, we're looking at the body as a whole. We're looking at being a little bit more proactive in your care prior to getting sick. It's just the mentality is so different. And hindsight, I thought I was doing well before, but there's a lot that I have learned about our bodies and being healthy and healing, not just physically, but again, energy work and emotional work and somatic movement and the lymphatic system. I did a yoga course on how we can help to pump our lymphatic system through yoga and movement and other massage techniques and stuff. It's so intriguing to me. And I know Julie wanted to chat about this. I think it is really important that our body as a whole, all of the systems, right? The cardiovascular system, the musculature, the skeletal, the lymphatic, endocrine, immune, the list goes on and on. When our bodies are in harmony and they're all working together, they're so happy working together. That's when the body is at ease and it's harmonious. I love the word harmony. It's my website, In Harmony. But that's where I feel like cancer can't necessarily thrive. That's where inflammation can't really thrive. So, how do we get there? We're not taught to get there. We're taught, hey, I have this lump in my breast. Let's just go beam the shit out of it and get it out of the body. But what about the emotional part of it? What about, hey, I had too much estrogen in my body. Why wasn't I taught that moving my lymphatic system for myself could have helped me detoxify some of the excess and the extra hormones in my body and waste? I just was never taught that. So to me, the lymphatic system is so easy for everybody to ignite in their own bodies. That's one of my newest ventures through workshops and series and maybe some online programs is just teaching people how easy it is to access your lymphatic system. Unlike the cardiovascular system, the cardiovascular has your heart, right? Your heart is your pump. It keeps things moving, the blood, the oxygen and things like that. The lymphatic system does not have a heart, a pump at all. So our movement is our pump. And whether that is just through lymphatic massage or moving the body in exercising or rebounding or dry brushing, gua sha, that's how you can help to move the excess around and out of the body, whether it's through your urine or your poop or sweat. It's really important. Detoxification is really important.
Can you tell us or tell our listeners more about the lymphatic system and what its purpose is for?
Sure. So the lymphatic system is basically our waste removal system. Like I said, due to unknown factors or known factors and toxins, our body brings in toxins, whether it's the air we breathe or the food that we eat, the drinks that we drink. And so there is excess fats and proteins and hormones moving through our bodies. And when we are sedentary, our lymphatic system is just like sedentary as well. There's fluid called the lymph that kind of goes through our body and it picks up all of these excess toxins. And we want to right detox it. So if you think about it this way, our body, like the waste removal system, you can also look at it as like a highway system. I've heard about this before, and it's really a nice analogy. And there's so many different roads and highways, and the capillaries and the lymph moving, they want to go down on the streets. And every so often, there are going to be toll booths. Toll booths are going to be where there's a congregation of the lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are going to be there to clean out take the kind of the nasty stuff and kind of keep moving it along to bring it down towards the heart. Heart's going to take what it needs and then keep moving it through the system and out. There's lymph node in the neck area, which is our cervical. Right underneath our armpits is going to be our axillary. In our groin area, our inguinal nodes, they congregate there, as well as in a lot of the joints themselves. The beautiful thing is the body is designed to where all of the congregation of the lymph nodes are more in our joints, so that when we're moving, even if we could just go for a simple walk and we move our arms and we move our legs, it starts to aid in some of that flow of the lymphatic fluid. Deep breathing is another way to help ignite some of that lymphatic flow, because even deep in our belly, we have a lot of lymph nodes as well. Whereas with just typical movement or typical massage may not access those, but with deep breaths or even deep twists in yoga, we can start to ignite some of those lymph nodes as well and activate them. It's basically a way for us to help our bodies detox.
With your cancer journey, did you have lymph nodes removed? Did you find that your system was functioning differently because of those lymph nodes being removed and that you had to do different types of movements and massage to help your system now that you had some of these lymph nodes taken out?
Yeah. I'm very lucky. I only had 3 lymph nodes taken when I had my bilateral mastectomy, none of which were cancerous. But I do know a lot of women who have had a lot of lymph nodes removed. And obviously, when you do have lymph nodes removed, your lymphatic system is compromised a bit, right? If somebody has had a lot of lymph nodes removed on one side, then obviously you don't want to do too much lymphatic work on that side, because there's no lymph nodes to clear it out and it can get a little stuck. For me personally, I did not feel too much of a difference because, again, I only had 3. I didn't have any lymphedema. I didn't have any different sensation. I can still personally have blood work drawn on the same side because I only had 3. But if you had more taken or if you have lymphedema, there's a lot of specialists out there that can help with the specific massages or techniques that help move the fluid in a safe way for women or men who have had some lymph nodes removed.
Do you go through any kind of daily lymph work, or is that something that you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that you can do daily. I personally love, so I may not do these daily, but weekly, I'll do all of them. So that it could include gua sha, like a gua sha massage for the face. It's an awesome little tool. You can get it in like a rose quartz or jade. It helps to remove some of the lymphatic drainage in the face. Obviously, that's good just to remove a lot of toxins and waste congestion. That helps with congestion if you're working through allergies and stuff like that, or a cold. It also helps to remove some of it in the cervical area as well. In our head, we have over 150 lymph nodes just in our head and neck region. Doing some of that daily is really essential, I think. Another thing that people can do is dry brushing. The dry brush that has soft but not too soft bristles on it that can help move the lymphatic fluid through. And the lymph nodes, most of the lymph nodes that we're trying to access are superficial. So they're just underneath the skin. Any of the massages that you're doing or the touch that you're doing, it does not necessarily need to be hard pressure, heavy pressure. It's a very light pressure. Somebody once taught me that if you were to take like a nickel or a dime and kind of press it on top of your skin, that's just basically like the pressure that you would have. It's just like a dragging, very soft, very relaxing pressure. Those 2 are great. And then Dr. Perry Nicholson founded the top 6 that you can do daily. Basically, the touch points are just going to be just above your clavicles. This is right where the subclavian vein actually comes in, just goes right in. So everything's going to be dumping into this area. So this is where you want to start. What's cool about it is if everybody who's listening, if you're driving, do not close your eyes, do not use both hands. But just right underneath your earlobes, if you were to just take your fingertips right under your earlobes and just go straight down, right where your clavicles are, I want you just start to gently pump that area, or you can create like little circles, or you can even tap that area. Again, whatever movement feels best to you. This is just igniting this area first. And what we want to do, the direction of how and the order of how you do your lymphatic drainage is super important, because if you think about it this way, coming back to like our highway analogy, is if there were a traffic jam or like an accident, you're not going to clear all the way at the end of the traffic. You're going to clear the accident first. This is where you want to clear this area first. And then we would go through some of the lymph nodes and then go from there. So you could do it 20, 50 times, or just a few moments. Just intuitively do it as long as you think it feels right. And the second area you would go to is underneath your armpit area. You do both sides. And in the armpit region, you can get a little bit deeper because they are a little bit deeper. But again, you can massage, you can tap, you can take and do a little knife edge with your hand, whatever feels good. And you would go to the other side as well. Then, so you've got the subclavian veins, then you've got your right underneath your armpits area. Then right at your belly button, above the belly button, you can do the same thing. You can take your pinky side of your hands and kind of press up a little bit, or you can knife edge it from side to side or tap it. That's igniting some of those that are getting stuck, or groin area. Same thing. You're just doing that same movement, igniting that area. The last area is right behind the kneecap. Again, there's a lot of congestion that can happen behind the kneecaps as well. Just taking your hands and gently massaging, being a little bit more gentle in that area because the back of the knee can be a little tender. I love also straightening and bending my knees a couple of times. If I'm incorporating some of this into a yoga session, I'm going to be having them move their joints a lot more. And that includes bending and straightening the knees. He didn't include the area in between your elbows, but I got too, because right at your elbows, there can be a little congestion in that area too. So I like that area as well. Again, clavicles is 1, the underarms is 2, the belly is 3, groin is 4, and then back behind those knees there. Oh, and I forgot the neck area too. So it's good stuff. So I would incorporate doing some of that. That's stuff that you could do and it's free. And that's the beautiful thing about it. You don't necessarily have to go to somebody to do this work. You can do it. You can do it yourself daily.
I actually have a practice of doing this when I wake up in the morning before I get out of bed. It's my first thing that I do. And I go through all of those points with a couple of little bit of differences. I did not use the back of the knee, so I'll try that one. What I found was actually it really energizes me. It brings the fog of the night and clears it away. It's so gentle. It
Mhm.
only takes me a couple of minutes in the morning. When I don't do it, I can really tell a difference. It
Yeah.
has become a part of my daily wake up ritual.
Yeah, it's beautiful because when you think about it this way too, you're connecting to your body, you're connecting to your energy right when you're waking up in the morning. Like just taking your hands and placing them on your chest or around your neck, this is so comforting. This is so connecting. If we are not connected to ourselves first, then how can we connect to the world and how can we show up for everybody else? So doing that first thing in the morning, right when you wake up and you're like, oh, it just brings just a warmth to you and just such a sense of peace and gratitude for just waking up. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I woke up today. Wow. It just brings a sense of peace. I love it. That's really great. I think that everybody really should do that and incorporate it into their daily routine. Everybody should have a morning routine. I think it's so important to show up for yourself every day. I could probably do better having a nighttime routine, but I know a lot of people do that too, is do a nice nighttime routine as well. I think both are really important.
Is there something different that you would do at night versus in the morning? Because, like I said, it really gives me a little bit of a clearing and an energy. It is a hug to yourself when you're first waking
Yeah.
up, which is really nice and gentle.
Yeah.
I've wondered about a nighttime. Is there something different that you would do, or would you do the same? just to settle
So
yourself?
I would do something a little bit different because at the end of the day, you have taken on so much energy. You've expelled so much energy, maybe brought in other people's energy. For me, a beautiful nighttime routine would be shutting off all TV, phones, everything at least an hour or two before you go to bed, maybe a little reading, maybe a little gratitude journaling just to get certain things out of your mind and onto paper. So you're not going to bed heavy and your mind full of things. I would definitely do that. I would also do maybe a nighttime tea just bring a sense of warmth, a nighttime meditation. I would actually do a meditation with legs up the wall. If you were to, it's called, sorry, I can never pronounce the Sanskrit word, so I'm not even going to mess it up right now. We're just going to call it legs up the wall. So I would just lay on your bed, put your legs up the wall or even on the floor, because again, coming back to the lymphatic system, all of the excess fluid that made its way down to your feet and their ankles and legs, you are now flipping that upside down and you're encouraging that lymphatic drainage. But it is very calming to your nervous system as well. That again is just setting yourself up for a beautiful nighttime sleep. Hopefully you will get a good night's sleep, beautiful dreams, and not wake up too much. And go to the bathroom, wash your face, do all that stuff too.
Thank you, Chrissy. I actually I have a similar bedtime routine as I also I rather journal in the evening time. I know a lot of people like that in the morning. I tend to like to do it in the evening. And I tend to do like a breath work meditation, a gentle breath work, like
Yeah.
not deep
Yeah.
breathing. Whereas something in the morning would be a little more like breath of fire, a little more
Yeah.
feisty.
Exactly.
And interestingly enough, I never realized this, but a lot of the Kundalini practices, we use so many of our arm movements and our arms up in the air and all of it's doing lymphatic drainage. If anything, we don't normally move our arms above our heads that much. I know that's something I talk about in class a lot. Like, how often are we stretching and moving our hands and grabbing stuff? When you really think about it, a lot of our arms we're down. We're down by our elbows and by a table. So I think it's really important for people to have some of these practices that they can do, whether it is a yogic practice or a specific lymphatic drainage practice or a way to move our lymph nodes specifically in our armpit area because
Mhm.
there are so many right there. It's not an area that we move that often.
That's it's beautiful that you do that in your Kundalini practice. I try to incorporate that also into a lot of my vinyasa style teachings, where just arms overhead and just start to open and close the hands a lot and kind of just incorporate a lot of that just movement and the igniting of it, just like to encourage it to move down. But even just walking, I know a lot of the fluid will make its way down the arms, but you are starting to ignite the underarm area that even after a long walk, take your hands overhead and just let them just stay up there for a little while. And when you really think about that too, that stance of just standing with your arms up and your hands out wide, that's such a sense of presence. Like I am here, right? It's just if you close your eyes and you just have your hands over your head and your fingertips spread wide, it's just, I'm here. And that it just brings you so into the present moment with a sense of empowerment of what I can do for my own body. Like I said, the body is a lot more powerful than we give it credit for. It's wonderful.
The one thing I thought of when you were talking, and like you said, it's a very empowering stance. It's also you're taking up space.
Yeah.
Like you're physically taking up the space that, yes, I am here.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to be here. I don't need to play small or be small.
Mhm. Yeah. Physically and energetically.
Yes.
Energetically, too, our energetic field goes way further than we think it does. Somebody said it's 6 feet around us, but then I heard from somebody else that it's way bigger than that, depending on how in tune you are with your energy, too.
Yeah, I hear it. It can fluctuate.
Yeah.
Most recently, the biofield, I think they captured it around 6 feet, but they also say in that data, like this is just all we've been able to capture so far, very much. Once our tools maybe change and become more sensitive, we may realize it goes out much further.
Mhm. Yeah.
Think about that. When you are diagnosed with a major illness or disease, you contract a little bit, right? Because you go into a fear mode.
Mhm.
I am thinking along the lines of anytime somebody's going through something pretty traumatic, how they can start to just do some things with their body to expand themselves, even if they may not necessarily be feeling it in that moment because they're
Mhm.
in it, like, you are in it. You're going through the chemotherapy or you're preparing for a major surgery. Sometimes I think that people should just learn some practices and just do things without
Yeah.
fully knowing that's
Yeah.
going to help you expand and get yourself out of that state of fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Some things that I think are essential. Number one, it's awareness. It's trying to connect to yourself on a deeper level. That's not easy for a lot of people, right? If they don't have a conscious awareness in their lifestyle, then saying, "Hey, go and meditate," is not that's not going to work for them. But saying, "Hey, go outside, put your feet, go walk the beach or go walk the forest or the lake and just put your feet into the grounds a little bit and notice, how do you feel before you do it? Take a moment and just check in with your stress levels and your mindset, like your feels, like how tense are you? And then go walk outside a little bit and just look at the trees, look at any birds flying by or sounds, and then do that for about 15, 20 minutes and then come back and rate it again and notice just being present and not in your mind, but like in the presence of something bigger than you, that you feel the shift. If people really do that, they can feel the shift that quickly. It's just trying to get people to be a little bit more present in their bodies, in their feelings, in the presence of the world and not so much in their mind. That is one very quick thing that people can do.
So we talked about a lot of things that
Mhm.
people can do today.
Yeah.
If someone is faced with whether it's breast cancer or some traumatic experience, and even looking back on your own journey, what would you say would be maybe the first three things that they should either do or think about to help navigate through that time?
Because everybody is so different and it just depends on their level of mindset, world like growth and where they're at in their journey, I do believe very much in community and support. I do think that surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, people who want to support you in the most positive way, creating that support, I think is essential. I think that's super, super important. Number one, you can't go through anything fully alone. There's definitely going to be people out there that they may have a real rough family dynamic, or maybe they don't have a lot of friends. I'm not saying that it needs to be a big network of community, but that you should have at least one person that you know that you can go and talk to and be your most authentic self. Tell them everything that's going on. And even if you don't, there's a lot of support groups out there that will welcome you with open arms. In anything that you're going through, there are support groups out there. That would be my number one is surround yourself with positive, like-minded people that can be there to help support you and cheer you along and connect with. Number two, I do think either a journal practice or I also said meditation is for something else, but I just think that journaling is so good, whether you're typing stuff out on a computer or you're writing things down. It doesn't need to make sense at all. You could, I think Gabby Bernstein calls it rage on the page. You could just throw out anything that you were thinking out on paper. It does not need to make sense in the least bit. Just get it out of your mind and onto paper. For me, I personally love journaling, but I do it in a way where I do it actually in the morning. I do it where if there's anything still lingering from yesterday, I'll write it out, or maybe a dream I had. Then I start to feel my journaling starting to shift of how do I want to see myself at the end of the day? How do I want my day to go? How do I want to feel? How do I want to look? What do I want to experience? And then I start to manifest that as if I've already done it and I say, I am peace. I am light. I am abundant. so that by the time I'm done with that journaling, it's already ingrained in me. I'm being that already. So journaling is definitely second for me. And then the third is on an energetic level and emotional level. I would say get outside as much as you can. Try to experience nature, vitamin D if you can. I know a lot of people live up north, so that around this time, that might not necessarily be too accessible, but just do what you can because being outside in nature is really super important. But number four, I'm going to sneak in a fourth one. Number four, on a physical level, I would say go ahead and do some of that lymphatic drainage, those massages, that connection to your physical body, and just checking in with how your physical body is like holding on to everything. Of moving that lymphatic fluid around not only is helping that system, but it is helping you to be much more connected to yourself as well.
Thank you so much for your time today. I absolutely love all of the recommendations that you are making for our listeners and for anybody who may be going through something traumatic, or even if you're not. I think that
Yeah.
those things are great for everybody. If you're practicing those things in your daily, then if you come into some sort of diagnosis or some sort of trauma, it's always good to have those practices already ingrained and tools in your toolbox, so to speak.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you, ladies, again so much. It was really a lot of fun. And I'm glad that I was able to just to explain my experience and what has helped me and hopefully help so many others be a little bit more proactive in their lifestyle and in their life too. So unfortunately, when things like this do come up, you you do have the tools that can help you along the way and help you create a sense of peace, even in a very traumatic time. I think it's super important. So thank you, ladies, so much.
One more thing, Crissy. Can you
Yeah,
tell our listeners how to find you?
sure, sure. I am on all of the social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. It's Flow with Crissy, FLO, because my last name is Florio. So Flow. You can also, my website, I have a lot of the events that I do, just some more information about me and some other fun things on my website. And that's healinginharmony.net. Yeah, definitely reach out. I would love to hear from you all and definitely stay in touch.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, subscribe, and share with a friend. Want to learn more about a specific topic? Drop us a line on our website and we can explore it deeper with you.